Now, the American Civil War will be described by most American historians as the most cataclysmic event in the nation's history and the one that came closest to destroying the Union.
And at the heart was really the issue of slavery. And that issue remained in the background. It was, a constant source of tension between states in which slavery was permitted, indeed became part of the economy. It was a way of life, actually. And eventually, of course, it erupted into what became known as the Civil War.
That was the schizophrenia that America had at that point. We were the land of freedom, the land of opportunity, the land of democracy, but about 35% of the people who lived there did so in chains.
It's impossible for a modern person to understand the depth of courage they had. You look at how close they stood and how long they were prepared to shoot at each other and how many casualties it took in an hour. It's almost impossible to imagine the courage, the dedication, the discipline that they showed.
Imagine warfare where your ability to load and tamp a musket faster than the guy with the other musket would determine if you lived or died.
I think for me the things that stand out about the Civil War is literally the idea of brother fighting against brother, cousin fighting against cousin, because the country was literally torn in two.
Those 4 years, more Americans died in battle during those 4 years than all other wars that America has been in combined.
When you have 620,000 dead people in a country that only had 50 million people, you have driven home emotionally the importance of the conflict at a depth that lasted 100 years.
And we must never forget either that many times that number of people were crippled or invalided for life by the war.
Ended up being such a critical time in the United States and such a devastating time, but devastating because so much was at stake. It would literally change the face of the nation.
If the Southern secession had prevailed, there would have been no end of further secessions. There wouldn't just have been 2 countries instead of 1. The 2 countries would then further have disintegrated.
Fortunately for us, the North, as the underdog, came back and won that war for a variety of reasons, and really changed the landscape and complexity of what it means to be an American.
By the act of winning, the North both validated freedom and validated the industrial model. And so you have an American confidence, an American sense of achievement, an American willingness to go out around the world that is fundamentally different than you would have had 10 years before the war.
We had never been more divided as a country than we were in 1860. It really was like we were 2 countries masquerading as one.
I think it's very hard to understand the role of America in the world without having that war and without people all around the world looking and saying, you know, Lincoln was right. You can have government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That was not at all clear in 1860. People were still very skeptical of the American experiment.
The incredibly insane experiment that is American democracy really almost fell apart. And yet, the nation was able to survive it and grow because of it.